when it starts streaming. Okay, so is it streaming now? I think it is.
Yeah.
So hey there, Nicolette, how are you going today?
Fantastic. How are you, Paul?
Oh, I'm fantastic, and I'm really excited because I'm sitting in the presence of a best-selling author. And this is why we together today is to talk about the book, The Awakened Feminine. And it became the bestseller, you're going to have to correct me, in America, Australia, the Netherlands, and you're the only person in the book from the Netherlands. Where else was it? Where else was it the bestseller?
And the UK.
And the UK.
So and America, Canada.
And Canada. So that's very impressive to be a best-selling. Was this your first book, or have you done other books before?
No, this was my first book. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing I know is that you wrote it over a period of a day and a half. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually a night and a half, I say.
One night and a half.
And I started half the night, and then I was like, no, I need to have a couple of hours sleep. And then the next night I actually finished and didn't go to sleep at all, and finished it on a really high. And yeah, it was just incredible to write that so quickly. When you start writing, it just flows, and you just keep writing.
Yeah, I think I was listening to Conversations with God, and the author of that book was saying that he got to a stage in his life where he was just so fed up, and he decided to belt something out to God. Why isn't my life working? And then this intuition came to him, and the intuition said, do you really want to know the answer? And said, oh, okay, well, yeah, I kind of do. And he said that, he said, okay, and it was God talking to him. He said he tried to put the pen down, but he couldn't, because he didn't write it, it came through him. So that's something you could probably relate to, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just in so many ways in my life that's happening. It just kind of channels through, and it's just this whole download of moments and learnings you get in, and you just need to either speak it out or write it out. It's different for everybody, but for me, it was writing. Voice notes I do more and more often now as well, because I can't write as fast as it all comes down, which is amazing and incredible how that just comes through you.
Yeah. Well, I suppose for anybody that wants to write a book, you've mentioned a few things that you might be able to do, and you mentioned voice notes as opposed to writing. What method do you use?
I actually wrote a pen to paper, the old-fashioned way, as some people might say. I had to type it up, of course, to send it to the publisher. But yeah, writing for me, pen to paper, is like writing my journal, writing my diary. I've written diaries for many, 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 many years, not even realizing what it did to me. And it is actually just releasing the emotions, what is in you, and releasing what's going on inside of you. And quite often people say, my head is so full. Well, write it down, then you empty out your head. And that's what writing is really. It's putting your thoughts on paper, and your feelings onto paper. So that's what writing is for me. It's part of a healing journey as well. It's part of the spiritual journey. It's releasing all the things what I don't want to keep inside my body or inside my head in this case. And it's just really freeing to actually get that out and write it on paper. And just reading it back as well, like weeks, months, years later. Some of my early diaries from when we were traveling, this is like more than 22 years ago. When I read them back, it still puts a beautiful smile on my face, thinking like, wow, did I really write that? That's how I felt at that moment I was writing. And it's such a moment that you're actually so present, and we're so distracted with so many things in the modern world. We have to do all these things, and we're busy with all these things. But actually being present and writing things down means that you're right in this moment. It's what you feel right now and then. And that's quite often what I saw with my book. Like even when I finished that, it was like, oh, That's actually an old version of me now. When I read it back now, and it's only been published a couple of weeks ago, but it's like, wow, I've evolved already so much more. But that's what the beauty is of writing a book and writing journals. It's ever evolving.
Yeah, so let's get into the book itself. The Awakened Feminine. Now I've read your chapter, so I kind of know what it's like. To me, it came across like your journey from when you left Holland, or even before Holland, because you're a speed skater, of course. When you left Holland and you went into a corporate life in the travel and not travel and wellness, the travel industry, hotel and travel industry, and then you burnt out in that, and you found your direction. So tell us more about the actual book, what it's all about.
So the book is a co-author book, which means that in this case, in our book, there's 22 beautiful women sharing their story and their journey to be an awakened feminine. And it's in my chapter, I say it's the journey without a destination, because the journey continues. It's just a start. It's just a little part, a little snippet of the journey. And that's what we're describing in the book. And 22 beautiful women all around the world came together. My girlfriends organized for us all to come together. Energetically, that all fell into place, and she attracted the women who needed to be in this book together. And we all wrote our chapter. So we got a bit of a guideline. There's a bit of guidance, of course, a lot of support on how to write your chapter. But at the end of the day, the only advice I really took on was like, write from the heart. That's all you can do. You can learn all the techniques and how you need to do this and this and this. And then it becomes really standard. And that's not what we want in the book. We want, it's my journey. It comes from my heart. It is everybody's individual journey. So every chapter is really different, but so alike, because we are connected for a reason in this book, because we've all journeyed similar journeys. So even though other authors wrote a chapter, I still relate and I still cry with every chapter I've been reading, because it's so part of my journey as well, just described in their way. And I think that's what I love about a multi-author book. It's that support and that community, and building really that community together as well, and sharing your story with not just the authors, but then with the whole world. It's just a beautiful process of celebrating you. The launch day when we launched online and became bestseller, it was just incredible. The energy was just ecstatic, and it was just such a day of celebration. And I will tell you now, hot off the press, I've just got the email. It's coming out in the next couple of hours. We will be announcing the paperback version as well. So we getting ready for book launch, book signing, different places around Australia, in America, in Europe. Everybody is doing the book launches in their areas, which is just incredible. And it's so, so I'm so humble and so grateful for the outpour of all my friends and people I don't even know, of saying, wow, what is a beautiful book, and how can I get the hard copy? Can you sign it for me? And can you tell more about it? And it was just, really humbling experience.
So one thing I want to say is that if anybody comes through you or the site and they want to get a copy of the book,
it's on Amazon,
you will sign it for them in your own thing, and you'll say that I know that you've got a beautiful heart, so you'll send a special message to them. So that will be fun.
So the books are on Amazon, but if people want a signed copy and they're not like near me, so I can hand it personally to them, I can definitely have a conversation with them and sign the book and send it to them. We can get that organized directly. That's definitely not a problem.
Yeah. So let's just get, without spoiling everything, just tell us the top of the iceberg, the little snippet about your journey.
Yes. Um, it's the box. The box I never fitted, and I will never fit. From when I was younger, I've had always a lot of pressure put on me and expectations been put on me, and I put on myself of always being the best, and the best was only good enough. And many things were done and asked out of love, but I didn't always experience it like that. So instead of experiencing it like it's the best and because I do it because I love you, I took it on as like, oh, I need to be the best, and the pressure was on and I needed to perform, which has been hard on a little girl when you're only like 8, 9, 10 years old. And that has gone through all my childhood as well. I always did things differently. People were finishing high school and they were going straight to university. I took off for a year to go to America, to the other side of the world, because I was living in Holland. That's where I was born. And people were like, well, why are you going there? And it was just one of those things that was just inside of me, that I just wanted to explore the bigger world. The world is such a big place, and what else can I do? And living in the same village and the same house and the same people around me, that was just not really for me. And that's how I've lived my whole life. I still want the best for me and for everybody around me, but it needs to come from a different place, and it needs to come from a hard place, from love. But don't put the expectations on yourself, because that's how I created the burnout. Because nobody gives you the burnout. You don't earn the burnout. You still create it yourself. So I was working in the corporates, in the hotel business, in the luxury hotel business, in luxury resorts and hotels all around the world. And I was working 12 plus hours every day, 6, 7 days a week. And even though I worked together at the same places as my husband, we didn't have the quality time together we really longed for. So when I was in Asia and I actually got fired for my job of not being good enough and not what they were looking for, I came back to Australia very disillusioned. It's like I worked my way up to become a general manager, a COO, and this is what I got. I was not good enough in what I was doing, and I was so passionate about it. I put my heart and soul in it, and it still was not good enough, or I was not good enough. So yeah, I was sitting on the couch just staring at the TV, and my husband came home and he said, "So what do you really want?" And I said, "Just be happy." And he said, "How does that look like?" And I said, "I don't know." And that really made me really, really, really sad, that I didn't even know what I wanted. I knew what I didn't want, but I didn't even know what I wanted in life. And that's when my real big journey started, of really discovering, what do I really want? What is it what I want? Not what everybody tells me I'm good at, which is lovely to hear, but I wanted to discover who I am and what I really wanted to do. And that is unfolding in a huge, beautiful, big way of doing so many different modalities, exploring the rest of the world, exploring different business opportunities, started my business for myself, did a whole bunch of different ones, from network marketing to Airbnb businesses and all sorts of different things, to now finally truly finding what I really want to do and who I am. And that really is the explanation in my chapter of the journey to your higher self, to your inner self. And it takes courage, and you need to be brave to do it, and to walk the path. And not everybody will walk the path, and that's okay as well. But now I'm so clear to help others to get on the journey and to take that first step, and help them to discover how to take that first step, because I didn't know, and I learned along the way. And I've got incredible mentors and coaches and healers, and however you want to call everybody, beautiful, amazing support team around me who've helped me on the journey. And that's really, really important. And that, what if I think about that, that makes me cry every time I think about it, of all the support and all the beautiful people in my life who have helped me along the way and still are.
So, one of the things that keeps coming up is your journey as a woman. And no, I can see so many young girls and so many women that could relate to not fitting into the box, because I think in reality, nobody really fits into the box. Everybody's been trying to fit into a certain type of box dictated by, looks like go down there, right? And we've got all these girls, young girls growing up, and they're finding it really hard to get along in this world. So a lot of women will read this book and actually be able to resonate with the journey, not just of you, but of all the other 21 women in this book. Well, what about men? Do you think men might also get something out of this book?
Absolutely. It's called the Awaken Feminine, but it is an world event what's happening. I think I actually say in my chapter as well, like it is for man, and my husband is on the journey as well, on his journey, and it's not just doing the feminine work. It's finding the balance. And as I speak quite often about it as well, as really the successful businesswoman in the corporate world, in the hospitality world, but really being in my masculine energy. And I was really, really strong from the outside, but from the inside, I was crumbling down, and I didn't know how to be feminine. But men have that as well. Men are masculine and feminine energy as well. And some men are a bit more feminine and some are a bit more masculine. But it's also for them the journey to find who they truly are. Quite often we call it midlife crisis, but nobody want to talk about it because the word crisis is in there, and it's like, oh, that's scary. But we're all going through transitions in life, and we evolve, and change is inevitable. It's here every time, every day, every minute. Things change, and it's having the tools to be able to cope with the change. And that is for men just as much as for women, and maybe even more for men, to be really honest. In some of the areas in life, and some of what is happening around the world, men are quite often demasculated, and they don't know how to be a man, and women don't know how to be a woman, because we're not taught by generations. Like, we model off our parents and our grandparents, but they only did the best they could do with the tools they had and the resources they had. But there was not much available those times. Like, look at now, we have the internet, and you can pull all sorts of information out, and everybody knows and thinks that they know it all because they've read something on the internet. But that's one thing, but actually embodying it and practicing it and walking the talk is a whole totally different journey. And men are struggling with that as much as women are. That's why depression and suicide is so high at the moment, because we don't know who we are and how to be us and how to be a woman and how to be a man and how to balance the masculine and feminine energy and just live in joy and happiness. It's a state to be in. And yeah, that's part of all the work you're doing, and actually embodying it. It's not like saying, I'm just going to be happy now, I'm happy. That's not how it works.
And that's the one thing that I was going to ask you next is, you've obviously done a lot of work on yourself. This has been a journey, and you've read lots of books, you've done lots of courses. If there's a woman, young, medium, old, whatever, what would your tip be to them if they find themselves lost in this world? What would you give them to get to the next step out, or get onto the right journey?
Find somebody you relate to. If you don't know where to start with even just talking to somebody about it, because most of the time people don't talk about it. Start reading a book, start reading something on the internet, and start really with the first step, and don't get overwhelmed with all the things you might have to do. You can't. It's a marathon that's what life is. It's not a sprint. So take one step. So start talking about that you do have a problem, or that there's something you don't know. Put up your hand and say, I don't know. That's the best move you can make. And just ask for help, because there's somebody around in your area who can help you. And it might be a little step, but that's all it needs to take to get onto it. But don't feel you're alone in it. With all the work I've done, every single person on this earth needs to do something and can do something better. But it is if you want to. And if you want to, just start talking to somebody. That's the real first step, and keep it real simple.
And that's an important point, is to find someone. But you and I are doing Think and Grow Rich, and last night we were talking about making sure that you choose the right person, and the right person often is not a family member, because the family members might judge you or something like that. So it's important for you to find the right person.
But don't get hung up onto the right person. It is the right person at that time. What is the right person? People think like if I speak to the wrong person, I'm a failure, and that's not right. It's not. It's just another learning. You will, when you get further and further, you will know who the right people are for you. And not everybody's for everybody. So you need to find that out for yourself. But just take the first step to start talking. And that doesn't need to be family member. Even if you just speak to a friend, if you speak to like a cousin or somebody who's probably a little bit older than you, and not age has not always everything to do with it, but just somebody who has done a little bit more in life than what you have at this time. And it doesn't mean that they're better, but just that they have some different views and they can help you. So just reach out, even if it's sometimes a stranger. We always say smile, and a stranger can make a big difference in your day. And there's a lot of professional organizations to reach out to, but that's quite often really daunting. But it's just talk to a friend and say, hey, can you help me? And if they can't, there will be somebody else who can. And you just take the next step and the next step.
And that brings me to the next portion of this. When you're not writing best-selling books, tell us what you do.
If I don't write best-selling books, I am helping people to get on the path, help them find what they want, who they are. I'm the emotional alchemist, so I really help with a lot of suppressed emotions. People don't know how to express themselves, as we just talked about as well. And that comes back to really simple steps. So there's so many different tools to actually put in practice. And that's what I assist people with. And finding that answer within inside of you. What do you really want? And who are you really?
So what I'll do is, if anybody resonates with you and would like to know a little bit more, I'll leave your details in the chat. It looks like we're only going on YouTube. I don't know what's happened to this meeting and Facebook. And for people in Twitch land, I know that I'm streaming to you, but I've got no idea how to get there. So my bad. I'm going to have to go somewhere. I think Twitch was designed for a different generation to me. So yeah, is there anything else you want to tell us about this book? Like what does it feel like to be a best-selling author?
It's incredible to think that it is out in the world and the message is out, and we as a collective can help so many people with by reading the book. And some of the things might not make sense, but it will do later. There's always a seed to be planted into you, and there will be an aha moment. And if you just take one little thing out of the whole book, then it has had the purpose of helping you. And quite often you need to read the chapters again and again and again. And it's a book you pick up and you might just put down. You might not read it all in one go, but you will pick it up again and again. And I think for me, it was really being part of this amazing community, but also just spreading the word worldwide, which is incredible.
Fantastic. And as we come into the end of this, if there's anybody out there, man or woman, or whatever you claim to be now, doesn't really matter. If you want to write a book, what's your best advice for somebody that's interested in writing a book?
again, ask for help. Go with somebody who knows they've done it before. So join a publisher who has done it, who are the expert in their field, but also who they align with you. So I chose the publisher and Kaki to do this journey with because I fully trusted them, I believed in them, and they're really in alignment with my values. And if anybody wants to know how to get in contact with any of those beautiful women, let me know. I'm happy to connect because that's what I do well. I connect people.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for your time today, Nicolette, and your details will be in the down below. You look down below. Improvising because I'm assuming it'll be down below. And thank you for your time.
Thank you again, Paul. Much appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.